Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because we're going to unpack a story of truly epic operational scale. Think about the last time you went grocery shopping. For most of us, it's just a mundane, everyday chore, right? You walk down an aisle, grab an apple, toss it in your cart. Boom, simple. But behind that incredibly simple action lies a massive, totally hidden logistical war. Today, we're looking at a fascinating case study that sits right at the intersection of human capability and cutting-edge robotics, trying to win that war. We are exploring the Ocado dilemma. It's a story about man, machine, and the very future of logistics. If you've ever wondered what actually happens the exact second you click order on a week's worth of groceries, you are in for a serious treat. Okay, let's dive right in.
Imagine a warehouse where hundreds of robots move constantly across giant grids, collecting groceries faster than most humans ever could. I want you to literally picture that for a second. We aren't talking about a noisy, chaotic warehouse floor with people shouting across aisles, pushing heavy carts, or frantically checking off crinkled paper picking lists. No, we are talking about a quiet, highly orchestrated symphony of algorithms, artificial intelligence, and robotic systems. Picture a massive, three-dimensional aluminum chessboard, literally the size of several football fields. Hovering just millimeters above this grid are hundreds of washing machine-sized robots, silently zipping past each other at breakneck speeds, dropping their mechanical arms down to pluck a single jar of peanut butter from a bin below. It's wild. This is the awe-inspiring world Ocado helped create, and it completely transformed the online grocery business. But to understand why they even bothered to build this futuristic grid in the first place, we have to look back at the core conflict.
All right, Section 1, the grocery problem. Because before the robots arrived, the industry was facing a massive operational nightmare. Think about it. Online grocery fulfillment is arguably one of the absolute toughest retail models in the entire world. It's not like throwing a rugged hardcover book or a cotton t-shirt into a cardboard box. Imagine trying to fulfill a single, massive family order. You've got heavy cans of soup that can easily crush delicate, fragile eggs. You've got fresh, perishable produce that bruises easily. You've got temperature-sensitive items like ice cream that are actively melting the second you pull them from the freezer. And hanging over all of this is a ticking clock, with a customer demanding their delivery in a strict 30-minute window. Now try to imagine doing this entirely manually. You have human workers walking miles and miles a day across cavernous warehouses to pick items one by one. It was simply becoming way too slow, way too expensive, and almost impossible to scale up as demand just absolutely exploded.
So, the traditional model was breaking down under its own weight. Ocado realized they had to make a massive, strategic pivot. The solution? Heavy investment in robotic fulfillment and AI-driven logistics. They essentially realized that relying primarily on large manual warehouse teams was a relic of the past. To survive, and to actually process orders at unprecedented speeds, they needed machines. But listen, this wasn't just buying a few conveyor belts. This was betting the entire strategic identity and financial future of the company on massive, unproven, futuristic automation. It was an incredibly high-stakes gamble.
Which brings us to Section 2, the power of automation. And initially, this massive bet looked like an absolute undeniable victory.
To really understand this victory, you just have to watch the grid in motion. First off, the speed alone is staggering. These robotic systems zoom across the grids, coordinating thousands of movements continuously, assembling a 50-item grocery order in literally minutes instead of hours. And that raw mechanical speed naturally feeds right into incredible accuracy. The AI guiding these bots drastically reduces human picking errors, ensuring you don't get a lemon when you definitely ordered a lime, all while perfectly tracking inventory down to the last gram. This means the system has unmatched scalability. When a huge holiday rush hits, order volumes can skyrocket and the machines just keep humming along. The company doesn't need to frantically hire and train hundreds of temporary workers. And why? Because of their relentless consistency. Machines simply do not get physically tired. They don't suffer from fatigue, they don't get distracted, and they definitely don't need coffee breaks. And all of this physical perfection is tied together by data optimization. A central AI brain watches from above, constantly analyzing demand patterns, predicting shortages, and routing bots in real time. It really is a masterpiece of modern engineering.
So, we naturally assume that machines of this caliber are completely infallible, right? But what actually happens when you remove the human element almost entirely? Does heavy automation create new vulnerabilities? It is incredibly tempting to look at those operational triumphs and assume the logistics code has been cracked forever.
But in business strategy, every massive solution usually introduces a brand new set of problems. And this is the central strategic question we've got to answer today. Should companies automate as aggressively as possible? Or does relying this heavily on a flawless technological system create hidden risks that are just as dangerous as the labor shortages they were trying to escape?
That leads us right into Section 3, the plot twist, why humans still matter. Because the really fascinating reality of this story is that the robots didn't actually eliminate human workers at all.
It really all comes down to a fundamental contrast between silicon and biology. Look, machines are incredibly fast, endlessly scalable, and relentlessly consistent. But they have a massive blind spot. They demand absolute, rigid structure to function. They can only execute the parameters they were explicitly programmed to handle. Humans, on the other hand, provide something a machine simply can't: judgment and adaptability. Even the most highly automated science fiction warehouses in the world desperately need people. They need humans for deep system maintenance, for physically cleaning up a damaged product that leaks onto the grid, for nuanced customer support, and most importantly, for stepping in when totally unexpected disruptions hit. Automation rarely creates a fully human-free operation. Instead, it completely evolves the nature of the work being performed.
Because of that, the fundamental hiring question changed entirely. It was no longer a sheer numbers game of, hey, how many bodies do we need to manually pick groceries? It became a much more sophisticated, almost ironic challenge. What type of workforce do we need to run an automated business? By automating away the manual labor, they accidentally created a desperate need for incredibly expensive, highly skilled talent. Suddenly, the demand shifted heavily toward robotics engineers, data analysts, AI systems managers, and specialized tech operators. Hiring remained absolutely critical to keeping the food flowing. The profile of the worker just looked totally different.
Let's move to Section 4, the hidden automation risks. Because relying on a giant, complex machine comes with a very real dark side. Think about the domino effect of building an operation this massive. It starts with capital intensity. Building a robotic grid requires staggering upfront cash and massive long-term maintenance costs. You are locked in, and you have to be completely confident in your future growth. That massive investment creates a terrifying operational dependency. In the old days, if a human worker got sick, you lost one worker's output. Today, if the central automated grid suffers a single software glitch, you instantly freeze thousands of orders at once. To prevent that glitch, you face immense technological complexity, which requires that highly specialized, expensive engineering expertise we just talked about. And then there's the scalability pressure. These incredible systems are built to churn out high volume. If customer demand suddenly drops, you can't just lay off a robot. Those fixed costs remain astronomically high. And finally, labor perception. Even if you still need human workers to handle the exceptions, if those workers feel their livelihoods are constantly threatened by the whirring machines working right alongside them, morale, trust, and productivity can absolutely plummet.
So here's the reality. Heavy automation is undeniably highly efficient under stable conditions, but it is potentially fragile during unexpected disruptions. Imagine a sudden massive snowstorm hits a major city, or a global supply chain bottleneck means a supplier completely misses a massive shipment of a popular product. Or maybe a viral internet trend causes an unpredicted overnight spike in demand for one specific ingredient. The rigid perfection of the AI grid can suddenly break down because it just wasn't programmed for that specific flavor of chaos. And that is exactly when a business relies entirely on human resilience, creativity, and on-the-fly problem-solving to keep the lights on.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Section 5, the ultimate lesson. What can businesses in any sector actually learn from this whole robotic journey?
It comes down to this. True operational resilience is balancing technological optimization with human adaptability. Whether you're running a massive logistics empire, a small creative agency, or a local retail store, this applies to you. Ocado built one of the most advanced, breathtaking fulfillment systems in human history, totally differentiating themselves through tech. But the deeper truth they uncovered is that automation is never just a technology decision. It's a workforce decision. It's a deep investment decision. The future of operations doesn't belong to the companies that just blindly buy the most robots and hope for the best. It belongs to the organizations that perfectly wed machine efficiency with human capability and judgment.
I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought today. As we look at the rapid pace of modern technology across literally all industries, ask yourself this. How do organizations automate aggressively without becoming dangerously dependent on the automation itself? It is such an incredibly fine line to walk between achieving maximum operational efficiency and creating profound operational fragility. Think about that the next time you tap order on your phone, and a perfectly packed box of delicate groceries miraculously arrives at your door just a few hours later. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a totally new perspective on the incredible hidden world of logistics.